So, welcome, friends, to this very important seminar. And the seminar is on spiritual and scientific dimensions of various rituals involved in the 16 Sanskaras. And today we have lot of our friends in the audience from many countries. I welcome you all. Our friends are from South Africa, Professor Ram Vilas, Pandita Usha, from Mauritius, from Canada, from USA, and of course from India. We have a lot of representation from Odisha also, different parts of the Odisha. So today we have our chief guest who is going to deliver the inaugural speech, Professor B.K. Kuthialaji. I think you all may not be knowing, he is the chairman of the Higher Education Council of Haryana, and he was formerly vice chancellor. He was the vice chancellor for 8 years, and he is a very learned scholar.
ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यम् भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्
Thank you, Professor Ranveerji. As all of us know, we are here deliberating upon Sanskaras, the 16 Sanskaras. And let me introduce this seminar as well as the subject matter and the objective of the seminar. These 16 Sanskaras, in fact, just like in Vedic tradition, the word sanskar is very important word. Just like today's science in material world, we are doing the sanskar of the material things so that they may be utilized better. For example, we take the crude oil and the crude oil is done sanskar, that is refined. When the crude oil is refined, that becomes applicable or that becomes usable just to run the motors and machines. Similarly, the modern world is talking about the sanskar of the material things, and all these material things they want to produce and manufacture just for the comfort of the human beings. But nobody is thinking about the sanskar of the human beings, because the human beings are the end. Everything is being done for the human beings, but so far as the sanskar of human beings is not done, I think the whole exercise of refining these material things, this becomes futile. Just like a shlok is there in Sanskrit, Janmana jayate shudraha sanskarair dvijuchyate. A person, every person takes birth from his or her mother's womb as a Shudra. But when he gets the sanskar of moral and ethical values, sanskar of knowledge, he becomes a Dvij. That means twice born. First of all, every human being takes birth from the mother's womb, and the second birth he takes from the Acharya's womb. Acharya, because a student, a disciple is known as Antevasi. He lives in the house of the Acharya for many years to obtain vidya and all these things. So the Vedic scholars, they always emphasized upon the sanskar of a human being. Human being who undergoes the sanskar, he becomes a good human being and he becomes beneficial to the society. And if a person he has not undergone the sanskar, he will be a terrorist, he will be a thief, he will be liability on the society, he cannot be an asset on the society. So, this 5 days exercise, we will be just deliberating upon different 16 sanskaras, and various rituals are involved in those sanskaras. They have some scientific or spiritual dimensions or the values. So, learned scholars who are
Good.
to deliberate during these 5 days, they will be highlighting the different aspects, the spiritual and scientific aspects of different sanskaras. So now we are coming to the point, and I invite Vinita Ram Khilavan from England. She is attorney there. I would request her just to introduce our today's chief guest, Professor B.K. Kutiala.
Namaste, Dr. Ravi Prakashji, and namaste to all our honorable guests and everyone who has joined us today for this 5-day seminar. I would like to introduce the highly esteemed chief guest of the seminar, Professor Brij Kishore Kutiaji, who will present this seminar's inaugural lecture. Professor Ji was born and brought up in Shimla and has been in a long, distinguished career spanning 50 years, a teacher, researcher, and academic manager. He is a social scientist and was trained at the Films and Television Institute of India, Pune, and also at the Indian Institute of Mass Communication, New Delhi. He has taught human communication, journalism, and media at many universities and institutes of learning. He has held many academic and managerial positions, such as head of department, dean, proctor, director of public relations, academic dean, foreign students coordinator, director, and vice chancellor, among many other such senior positions. Professor Kutialaji has initiated innovative graduate and postgraduate courses in journalism, advertising, printing technology, digital media, and content production. He taught at IIMC New Delhi for 21 years, at Kurukshetra University, Kurukshetra for 6 years, GJ University of Science and Technology, Hisar, for 11 years. He was the Vice Chancellor at MC National University of Journalism and Communication, Bhopal, for more than 8 years. He has the reputation of being an institute builder and also of being an innovator in the field of teaching methods. He has many research reports, books, booklets, and papers to his credit. He has also written widely and to much popular acclaim on social and cultural issues and on subjects related to media and entertainment. He has also produced documentaries, TV and radio programs. Presently, he is the chairperson of the Haryana State Higher Education Council, where he has launched many activities to make higher education more relevant to the society of today and of the future. He is also the chairperson of Bharatiya Chitra Sadhana, a not-for-profit organization dedicated to promote film production with an Indian ethos. Its goal is to use the film medium to celebrate diversity in order to create an integral social system. He is also the director of the Panchnad Research Institute, a forum for intellectual dialogues. Internationally, Professor Kutialaji has represented Bharat in 21 countries in the areas of education, media, Sanskriti, and civilization. Many, many organizations have honored and awarded him for his distinguished contributions. In all, he has 50 years of experience as a teacher, researcher, administrator, and also as a social activist. Professor Brij Kishore Kutialaji, after this short introduction, I would like to invite you, on behalf of the Maharishi Dayanand Chair, the organizers of this seminar on the spiritual and scientific dimensions of the 16 Sanskars, to kindly deliver today's inaugural lecture. Professor Ji, the stage is yours.
Thanks to Vinita ji for giving a very elaborate introduction, not only to the participants of this great event, but also to me also, because I didn't know that I have served for 50 years in the profession of teaching. I didn't count it. Anyways, uh, uh, my Abhinandan and Pranam to all participants of this dialogue on spiritual and scientific dimensions of various rituals involved in 16 sanskars. In fact, I learned about this seminar accidentally, and I showed my interest to Professor Raviji that I would be listening to the various deliberations to various learned people. But I think Professor Ravi believes in the belief that we should move from darkness to the light, ignorance to the knowledge, and misinformation to the truth. And considering that, I think Professor Ravi thought that we should begin with a person who knows nothing about it, whose subject matter is not what is being discussed. So, from darkness, from ignorance, from misinformation, he wants this seminar to move to the knowledge about the various sanskars and the science and spirituality of various karam kand that are involved in these sanskars. When Professor Ravi, in fact, asked me to deliver the inaugural address, I started thinking about the various aspects of sanskars and the science and technology and spirituality and the religiosity of these sanskars. And I wondered that our forefathers perhaps when planning these sanskars for the new members of the society, they perhaps had a very larger plan in their mind. That larger plan was to achieve the goals of being a human being. Perhaps they had a very logical and perhaps in modern terminology scientific approach to the life of human beings, because they were of the belief that human birth is by not accident, but it's a kind of opportunity, it's a kind of vardhan, and there is a purpose for being a human being. And then when I realized that these 16 sanskars were a plan of action to elevate a human being to a certain level, to grow from a certain level from the birth till the end of the life, and during this life there should be a gradual upgrading of the spirituality and the mentality and the mental state of an human beings. And perhaps that was the game plan our forefathers had in mind. Having a sense of this kind of thought process of our forefathers, of our learned rishis and munis, I was inclined to think about what modern science and modern knowledge think about this subject, about the purpose of being a human being, the life of a human being. What is the game plan in the minds of the modern philosophers and the scientists and the technologists. And I found that it's a very wide subject, but I found that probably for the human mind, for the human race, for Homo sapiens, the basic thought process of the modern philosophy originates from the Darwinian theory of the natural selection, struggle for existence, and survival of the fittest. Perhaps that defines the overall approach to human life by the modern technologists and scientists, and it is perhaps that objective with which the science and technology after the industrial revolution of the Europe developed, and it till today I don't find any very specific thought process, philosophy, or theoretical postulation of the modern scientists about the purpose of life, purpose of human life. I don't see explanation given by the modern scientists why the Homo sapiens are not, their movement is not parallel to the earth, but it is at right angles to the earth. Why, as per the Darwinian theory, we evolved from gradually involved organic evolution. We evolved from in the form of vertebrates, from primates. Basically, primates moved parallel to the earth, but apes and human beings started moving right angles to the earth. They have no explanation why the human mind is so developed, why there is a memory, why there is a logic. They explain all these things, but the reason behind this, the modern science is not able to explain. And combined with Darwinian theory of organic evolution, natural selection, struggle for existence, and survival of the fittest, and supported by the theory of genetics and transfer of genes from one generation to another, as first propagated by Mendel's theory of inheritability. Well, that together they tend to explain the whole existence of the race of Homo sapiens. I'll return to this point a little later, but also I found that today's science and the application of science is also a very interesting study. Why science develops in a certain manner, and why the application of the science in the form of techniques and technologies and the machines and the gadgets, they move in a particular way. In this respect, about 70 years ago, a Canadian professor, Marshall McLuhan, propagated a theory, and which was later on supported by others, and the work is still going on. I think the landmark work was done by Ernest Kapp and later on by David Rothenberg. They have propagated a theory that science and technology develops to enhance the capabilities of the human body and the human mind. Perhaps their belief system, and which has a logic behind it, is that the technical objects are the extensions of the human organism by replicating or amplifying the human capacities and abilities. If you consider this, you will find that wheel is an extension of human legs. When human beings wanted to move faster, longer distances, and they wanted to carry more weight. Then they discovered the wheel, and today's life is totally dependent upon a wheel. And then there is a huge theory about it, and it is very well explained by these three authors. And in some of the universities in Bharat, the work is going on about this, and I also have contributed a little bit about it. But it is believed that all machines, tools, weapons are the extensions of the hand and the arms, because human beings wanted to be more powerful, more manipulative. And in the similar vein, you can say that the camera, which we are using in also in this seminar, camera is the extension of our eyes, and the video camera and the entire gadgetry system that we are using in this seminar is perhaps the extension system of our eyes and ears and our speaking abilities. We wanted to talk to more people. We wanted to talk to the people at long distances. We wanted to not only talk to them, but also appear in images also. And also we wanted to reach larger audiences and listen to also larger number of people. Perhaps COVID has expanded on it, and it has made us more dependent upon this extension of technology, and that is the extension of our eyes and ears and our speaking abilities. In the same line, we can say that when humans found that their memory is short, they not only the memory is short, there is a possibility of the memory being deleted. So there is also a limit to what the human mind can analyze, retain, and recall. And then in that respect, computer becomes an extension of our brain, our intellectual capacities. When computers are joined together, you create an internet. And when human minds are connected together, you create relations. In that respect, we can say that the technology of today is an extension of our relationships. And we all know that these relationships are very essential for the human living. And the basic instinct of human mind was to have larger interactions with larger number of people and deeper interactions with deeper relationships with more people. This technology and application of technology in the form of telephony and satellite technology and internet technology gave rise to what we call today the whole web, W-E-B, web, World Wide Web, WWW. And that is perhaps now what happens is there is an involvement of training and learning also in these technologies, which we can say these are the Sanskāras of the modern science and technology. Modern science and technology also requires all of us to learn to use the gadgets of yesterday and today and also of tomorrow. Every 5 minutes there is a new application. Every third day there is a new revolutionary change in the technology in today's world. And as Darwin said years ago, people who master these technologies, people who get more sanskarit in these technologies are likely to succeed more in life, and that becomes a thing. But there is a big but to that, and that but is that this is all, as Professor Ravi has also written in his introduction to the seminar, and also he mentioned in his introduction to the seminar, that is all bhautik, that is all physical. The modern science and technology of today deals mostly, if not totally, with only the physical world and the physical objects of the world. And these science and technologies are related to the physical world also. But the modern science and technology doesn't talk about the basic purpose of life, of basic purpose why the creativity, the creator created human beings. And for that, if we go back and study the ancient knowledge system of our own country, that is Bharat, we find answers to that. We find answers to that. And basically, the difference of modern science and technology, modern belief systems, is that the human birth is not a result of a sin, which many belief systems preach, and also they have faith in it, that it is the result of a sin. And there would be a time when we all would be resuscitated, and our karmas would be decided upon and will be treated differently as per our deeds in this earth. Now, this is not what the ancient knowledge system, the science of art and craft of living, that Sanatan Dharma, Sanatan Sanskriti believed, preached, and practiced. And that is the difference. And the difference is that human beings are the Shreshtatam, that is the best species of the living beings, and they are the best of the 84 lakh yoniya. Of the 84 lakh, 84 lakhs species, living species in this world, the human beings are the topmost, they are the best, and they are the most evolved. And there we find parallel with the Darwinian theory that there is a kind of organic evolution, and there is a thought process in modern science which draws from the avatars of Vishnu and draws parallel to the evolutionary process as envisaged by the evolutionary scientists in this world. But there is a great but. Human beings also, our ancient rishis and munis also visualized the purpose of being a human being. They thought that there is a purpose of being a human being, and if we draw from evolutionary theory, and we should ask a question: if over the millions of years the living beings and the animals and the vertebrates and the mammals and the primates have evolved into a species that is called Homo sapiens, then this evolutionary process has not stopped. If this process has not stopped, so there must be a next process. There must be a next stage of evolution where the human beings Homo sapiens would evolve into a new species. That is what modern science says. And when we visualize, when we start to think about what is the next stage of evolution, the Sanatan Sanskriti finds an answer, gives us an answer, and it says that the purpose of being a human being is to evolve from Nar to Narayan, from Manav to a Mahamanav. And perhaps this is a very important thing. And to evolve from Homo sapiens to a next stage of evolution, our rishis and munis, our Sanskāras, rishis and muni had a game plan. They had an action plan. They proposed an action plan for the entire society, and that is the action plan where all through the life of a individual human beings, even before birth and even after death, there are certain sanskars which are to be performed And every sanskar in modern science and technology must be seen as a next stage of evolution in an individual's life. And that, if we see from various sanskars, the 16 sanskars have been identified, which are primarily major sanskars, but we all know that every day, every moment, there is a sanskar, that is, there is a learning, there is an impression on the mind of a human being, which is a continuous process. And in sociology, there have been the modern sociology, which is mainly westernized thought process, also recognizes this and talks of the socialization process of the human beings. When we talk of the sanskars and particularly focus on 16 sanskars, perhaps the Bharat is a civilization, a Sanskriti, which provides a game plan for evolving from one stage of living to the another stage of living, one stage of evolution to another next stage of evolution. And that is perhaps the purpose of sanskars, and what we find is very important, that these sanskars have certain, you can say that there are apps, like in modern IT related technologies, there are apps, and which apps have to certain actions have to be performed. These sanskars also have certain rituals to be performed, uh, uh, whether it is at the time of conception, or at the time of birth, or at the time of Annapurna Sanskar, or Vivahaka Sanskar, or whatever Sanskar, 16 Sanskars. I'm not going into that because I don't know much about them. I only know that there are 16 Sanskars because long back, a pracharak of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, Anil Daveji, had authored a book on these, which was translated into many languages, and that explained the whole process requirement and the importance of 16 sanskars. I know only what was written in that book, but this seminar, I'm sure, is going to expand on this concept. Why these sanskars? What is the logic behind it? And when we talk of the adhyatma and the vigyan of these sanskars, perhaps our great learned persons who would participate in this seminar, who would make presentations and also discuss, perhaps they would also come to an agreement that adhyatma is science and science is adhyatma. We all know. I don't think I'm going to this learned audience, I'm going to say something new. But we all know that where science ends, adhyatma begins. Where quantum physics fails to understand the behavior of the material, matter and energy, adhyatma enters into the field and explains the whole relationship between the living and the non-living, between the matter and the energy, and the conversion of energy and the conversion of the matter, and also about Paramatma and Atma, Adhyatma. And that perhaps is the need of the hour when we start talking about not of Adhyatma and science, but we talk of the science of Adhyatma and Adhyatma of the science. Spirituality is not the exact word that explains the basic nature of Adhyatma. Adhyatma is something different from spirit and spirituality. Like soul is not an equivalent of Atma. Most scholars are using the term Atma and they are not using the word soul. Similarly, Adhyatma is different, and even when we talk of the Vigyan in terms of our ancient knowledge system, Vigyan is also a larger concept than science. So when we make a binary between Adhyatma and science, perhaps that limits our thought process. But when we start treating them as two sides of the same coin, and not only the two sides of the same coin, but the continuation of one and another in a cyclic manner, then perhaps a greater and more understanding is available for the relationship between the material and the non-material of the world, of this world. Perhaps when we talk about the 16 sanskars uh, and the rituals involved in those sanskars, then Bharat is a place where we can uh, reach to a consensus where we can find that, of course, for a modern living, in the physical world, we have to master the technology, we have to master the gadgets, we have to master the apps, and that also is a process of learning. Sanskars are also a process of learning, and our very wise rishis and munis, they have also thought about the process of the spiritual growth, spiritual and physical growth of every human being, and they have prescribed a process of that, which we can say that is the action plan from moving from one stage to another. Here I would like to refer to our learned participants in this group, that some of the Western and the modern philosophers have also started thinking in the same line. There is a Professor Delmeyer, he's a professor of political science, and he talks about the plurality, integrated plurality. His subject is integrated plurality, and he talks about Upanishads, and he talks about the growth of human beings during the life of the human being from one stage to another. But the most important contribution to the modern thought process for the Westerners has been made by a very famous author of today's world, and his name is Yuval Noah Harari. Most of you must have heard about him. Most of you must have read his books. He wrote a book called *Sapiens*, in which he described the entire history of human beings. His another book is called *Homo Deus*, and Homo Deus, Homo sapiens. He's of the belief system that Homo sapiens are going to evolve into Homo Deus. He says there is an option before us that we can develop into Homo Deus. Homo Deus relates to Devatas. If we translate into in our own terminology, then we can say that Nar se Narayan, Homo Deus is Narayan. Deus relates to the gods, and that is why this author talks about it. And in his latest, perhaps not the latest, but the second latest book, 21 Essays, the last essay deals with a very important thing where he relates the modern technology of IT, information technology, relates to the spirituality and the organic evolution. And there he talks about that there is a possibility that there is an option, not a possibility, but there is an option for the human race of today to move from Homo sapiens to Homo Deus, which we call Nar se Narayan. And there is also a possibility to move from Manav to Danav. We can turn back to the devils and animals also. And perhaps this is what is the importance of Sanskars. And I congratulate, and perhaps I pranam. I give my pranams to Professor Ravi Prakash for having conceptualized this seminar and giving and relating it to the modern thought process of science and technology, and also to the rituals of these things. And I'm very curious to learn from all the scholars. I will try to attend all the sessions, and I'm honestly saying that perhaps Professor Ravi Prakash's effort is to gather a, a band of persons who are curious and who know about the sanskars, and to make all of us more knowledgeable about this whole science of sanskars, and perhaps a new beginning can be made where the rituals and the process and the habit and the requirement and the essentiality of these 16 sanskars is once again reintroduced into the society, not only in the society that believes in the Sanatan Dharma and Sanatan Sanskriti, but also in other civilizational human beings. Perhaps that a process can begin, and I wish all of you a great success in this seminar, and once again thank Professor Ravi for having selected an ignorant and ill-informed person like me to make this inaugural session, beginning in the inaugural session, and a great learning process begins today. I wish you all the best. Thank you. Jai Bharat.
थैंक यू प्रोफेसर कोठियाला जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और हमें आपके व्याख्यान में कहीं ऐसा नहीं लगा कि इग्नोरेंस से प्रकाश की, तो हमें प्रकाश ही प्रकाश दिखाई दिया। आपने जिस प्रकार से इस पूरे विषय को आधुनिक विज्ञान के साथ संयुक्त करते हुए इसको परिभाषित किया, वह सचमुच ही बहुत श्रेष्ठ कार्य था। आपने बताया कि किस प्रकार से जो आधुनिक विज्ञान का गेम प्लान है उनका भी कुछ ऑब्जेक्टिव है, और हमारा भी जो ऋषियों का विज्ञान है उसका भी एक ऑब्जेक्टिव है। आधुनिक विज्ञान ये मानता है, और आपने बहुत अच्छा कोट भी किया डेविड रोटनबर्ग को। वो कहते हैं कि जो साइंस और टेक्नोलॉजी है वो मनुष्य की कैपेबिलिटी बढ़ाने के लिए है। और आपने उदाहरण दिया कि जैसे हम पहिए का आविष्कार हुआ, जो चक्र है वह मनुष्य के जो पैर है उसका एक एक्सटेंशन है। तो इस प्रकार से आधुनिक विज्ञान भी मनुष्य को अनेक प्रकार से एक भौतिक जगत का एक्सटेंशन, एक सहायता देना चाहता है। जैसे एक लंगड़ा व्यक्ति होता है, उसको बैसाखी मिलती है और वो आगे बढ़ता है, इसी प्रकार से आधुनिक विज्ञान भी जो मनुष्य हैं उनकी कैपेबिलिटीज को आधुनिक संसाधनों से, यंत्रों से, उनसे बढ़ाना चाहता है। परंतु दूसरी तरफ जो भारतीय विज्ञान है वह मनुष्य की स्वयं की जो अंदर की जो कैपेबिलिटी है उसको डेवलप करने की बात करता है। क्योंकि जब हम स्वतः अंदर अपने आप को डेवलप कर लेंगे तो हमें बाह्य साधनों की कम से कम आवश्यकता होगी। और इसके उदाहरण हमारे पास योग दर्शन इत्यादि है कि किस प्रकार से ऋषि एक स्थान पर भी बैठे हुए पूरे ब्रह्मांड को देख सकता था, उन रहस्यों को जान सकता था जो हमारे सामने जो घटनाएं घटित नहीं हुई, ब्रह्मांड के वो रहस्य जिन तक वैज्ञानिक भी पहुंचने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं परंतु असफल हो जाते हैं, उन रहस्यों को भी वह जान लेता था। तो इस प्रकार का भारतीय विज्ञान है। और आपने बहुत अच्छे ढंग से बताया डार्विन के सिद्धांत को कि वहां भी विकास का सिद्धांत है, और डार्विन कहता है सर्वाइवल ऑफ द फिटेस्ट, जो सिलेक्शन का उसका सिद्धांत है। और ये सब चीजें जो हैं मनुष्य को धीरे धीरे डेवलप करते हुए एक तक आके फिर मनुष्य की बात करता है। और आगे शायद डार्विन की थ्योरी भी ये कल्पना करती होगी कि मनुष्य से आगे कोई विकास, कोई अन्य प्राणी, अत्यधिक विकसित प्राणी आना चाहिए उस सिद्धांत के अनुसार। परंतु दूसरी तरफ जो भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा है, वहां भी विकास की बात है। किस प्रकार से मनुष्य अपने संस्कारों को तामसिक से राजसिक, राजसिक से सात्विक बनाते हुए जो दानव है, दानव से मानव और मानव से देवत्व की ओर बढ़े, जिसको होमोड्यूस के नाम से आपने डेलमार्क का उदाहरण देके बताया। तो ये सारी जो प्रक्रिया है, संस्कारों की जो प्रक्रिया है, वो मनुष्य के निर्माण के लिए है, मनुष्य को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए। आपने बताया कि ये सारी भारतीय जो प्रक्रिया है मनुष्य के विकास के लिए है, उसके आंतरिक विकास के लिए है। परंतु जो आधुनिक विज्ञान की प्रक्रिया है, आपने बहुत सुंदर शब्दों में बताया कि वो मनुष्य को बाहर से एड दे रहा है, सहायता दे रहा है, ताकि मनुष्य का जो जीवन है वो समृद्ध हो सके, उसमें ज्यादा से ज्यादा कंफर्ट आ सके। तो मैं अत्यधिक धन्यवाद करता हूँ हमारे प्रोफेसर कुठालिया जी का, जिन्होंने इतना विद्वत्तापूर्ण भाषण दिया। और मैं मुझे प्रतीत होता है कि इनका जो ये व्याख्यान है, जो उद्घाटन भाषण है, जो हमारे अगले जो व्याख्याता रहेंगे, जो विद्वान अपना यहाँ पर परिश्रम करेंगे, अपने पत्र रखेंगे, उनके लिए भी अत्यधिक एक दिशा का कार्य करेगा। और जो हमारी भारतीय जो सांस्कृतिक परंपरा है, जो भारत का ज्ञान और विज्ञान है, आपने ये भी बताया कि विज्ञान शब्द का हमारे यहाँ विशाल अर्थ, जो साइंस अर्थ है उसी में विज्ञान अर्थ नहीं, हमारे यहाँ विशालता का प्रतीक है। इसी प्रकार से जो हमारे शब्द है अध्यात्म, वह स्पिरिचुअलिटी की जो कनोटेशन है, उसकी अध्यात्म की कनोटेशन स्पिरिचुअलिटी से बहुत विस्तृत है। स्पिरिचुअलिटी एक बहुत छोटा उसका अंग है, और हमारे यहाँ उसका एक एक्सटेंडेड स्वरूप है। तो ये सब बहुत ही उपादेय रहा, और मैं आपका अत्यधिक धन्यवाद करता हूँ।